Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
Hello everybody and welcome to the July 10, 2014 edition of The Local Live. I'm Anthony Carlo.
And I'm Siobhan Flattery. You're watching the only news show dedicated to Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and Rhinebeck. We have a great show for you tonight. Stay tuned. One announcement, repeats of The Local Live will now be broadcast at this time, 7:30 p.m. every evening on Cablevision Channel 75 and Verizon Channel 36, and repeated every 6 hours. Fans of the Reverend and the Rabbi can watch it at their new time, Fridays at 11 p.m. and repeated every 6 hours through the weekend.
In our live discussion tonight, we'll be talking about how to make our communities more bicycle friendly. Maura Carlin will be joined by two local activists hoping to make two-wheel travel in the community first class and safety first.
But first, let's show you a sneak peek of tonight's upcoming stories.
What's that? Medical marijuana is now permitted in New York. Why are our community beaches so polluted? We have the story.
Who's this sweet little pup? Daisy is looking for a new place to call home.
Earlier this week, the media reported that Governor Andrew Cuomo signed a bill into law making New York the 23rd state to legalize the use of medical marijuana.
It's only fitting that now that we have identified an advancement in medicine and medical marijuana, that the state of New York takes that step at this time. There is no doubt that medical marijuana can help people. It's been proven in other states. There's a whole history of information and data and research just on that topic. And we are here to help people. And if there's a medical advancement, then we want to make sure that we're bringing it to New Yorkers.
The new program comes with some restrictions, of course. The drug is only to be used for medical purposes, and patients are not allowed to smoke the drug. Governor Cuomo also holds the power to end the program if he is advised by the state health commissioner or state police superintendent.
Medical marijuana is supposed to help with illnesses such as cancer, HIV, AIDS, ALS, Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease, and other health conditions. Tell us what your opinion is on the new law. Write The Local Live at lmctv.org and we'll report it right here on our show. This week's summary of the local news is brought to you by Mike Witch in his segment In the Media. Let's take a look.
In a letter published in the Mamaroneck Daily Voice, Village Manager Richard Slingerland assures residents and business owners that the services of the building department will continue as normally as possible, despite the recent departure of both the building inspector and his assistant. The village promises that knowledgeable and qualified professionals will be doing the office's work until full-time staff is replaced. It's Larchmont's down-to-earth farmers market. It's located in the parking lot off Chatsworth Avenue, and according to the Hamlet Hub, it's open this weekend, July 12th. This weekend, a special seasonal berry tasting will be held from 11 till 1. Come on down to the market, pick up your fresh fruits and vegetables at the farmers market this weekend. The Hamlet Hub also published a call for volunteers in Larchmont. The village runs on volunteerism. Committees like Parks and Trees, Board of Architectural Review, Recreation, and the Committee on the Environment, among others. In addition, Larchmont needs and values the services of its volunteer fire department, and the department is always looking for more help. Call the mayor's office if you're interested. From the Patch, Mamaroneck is set to host a Swim Across America for Cancer. The awareness and fundraising event takes place July 19th at the Orienta Beach Club. To date, this team has raised almost $24,000 toward their goal of $60,000. Originally called the Swim Across Long Island Sound, Swim Across America now has 13 swims in 5 states, including a 22-mile marathon. And so far, it has raised $40 million for research and treatment programs. The Journal News reports that Valerie Moore O'Keefe, former Mamaroneck Town Supervisor, has been named chairwoman of the board of the Westchester Holocaust and Human Rights Education Center, replacing David Alpert. The announcement was made on July 3rd. And Mamaroneck's former historian Gloria Pritz was the subject of Phil Reisman's column in the Journal News. She celebrated her 90th birthday on July 3rd and was feted by the Historical Society. Reisman calls her a woman of boundless curiosity who has made it her mission to gather, preserve, and share the history of Mamaroneck, where she has lived all her life. In The Loop, we read that Larchmont Artists Guild plans a summer splash show and sale during the last 2 weeks in July. It's original art at affordable prices. And finally, from The Patch, a plea from Bikes for Kids. The organization is looking for used bikes in decent conditions. It's a charitable group that collects bikes and has volunteers who refurbish them and give them to disadvantaged children in the community in order to bring them happiness and share the joy of riding. If you'd like to clear out your garage, consider donating bikes to Bikes for Kids. Just drop off your bikes at many of the participating bike shops or email, here's the email address, wccbikes4kids@gmail.com. They also have a phone number, 914-294-4922, and of course, donations are tax deductible. Well, those are some of the local news items that caught my eye this week in the media. I'm Michael Witch.
Hi, Norm Roseboom here, speaking for Local Live, one of the greater programs on LMC TV. I really want you to watch it.
Thank you for joining the Local Live Roundtable. I'm Maura Carlin. With me, handling our social media, is my co-host, Mike Witch. Tonight's topic, making the community safe and accessible for bicycle riders.
We invite you to ask questions by phone, email, or tweet. You can call into the show at 381-0150. You can email thelocallive@lmctv.org, or you can tweet @thelocallive. That information will also be on screen during this conversation.
Thanks, Mike. Joining us is Stephen Moser, an architect who's helping to lead an initiative to make Mamaroneck bike friendly, and Tony Gilbert, the chairman of the Town of Mamaroneck Sustainability Collaborative, which is charged with ways to make the town greener. Stephen and Tony, thanks for joining us this evening. But before we get started with this interview, we have a short video from Local Live reporter Kyle Byrne, who recently visited 2 bike shops in Mamaroneck. Let's roll the videotape.
Tonight's roundtable discussion is all about how to make the town of Mamaroneck more biker friendly. So I went out to get some answers.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people bike to the train station. We get a lot of clients that do that. So I think there's a bike community here, and that's more bike friendly than a lot of other places. So I would say it is bike friendly.
I think the vehicular traffic around here, sometimes people get a little too caught up in getting from point A to point B and don't give bicyclists a safe path. I've been run over twice myself in this town, so I think trying to educate the public as to the advantages of having people ride bicycles as opposed to cars.
And when you bike back and forth from work, do you feel safe on the streets?
Yeah, I'd say I do. I'm pretty used to like urban cycling, so I'm not too concerned about cars. I just feel like people who aren't in tune so much with the traffic flow get a little bit nervous about it, and it's better to encourage everybody to bike than only a select few who are willing to.
Well, to really answer your question, no, I am a little gun shy. As I said, I've been hit a couple of times, and I think too many people are spending too much time punching in coordinates to their GPSs and dialing their cell phones and dodging the goldfish that the kids are throwing from the back seat, that they don't spend enough time. The vehicles are bigger. The post road is full of commercial traffic, which takes up a lot of space. I live in Larchmont, and I take an extremely exaggerated route to get home because I just don't want to ride on the Post Road or on Palmer Avenue.
There's always more things you can do, though.
Such as?
Well, like a bike lanes on major roads. Some people commute through Boston Post Road, and they're always complaining about how the traffic can be a little scary. People aren't really looking out for cyclists, and that can be pretty tough when a big truck comes by, and like you're on a two-wheel and you're just pedaling and you don't want to get hit, and the thing comes by at 60. So a little bit of a bike lane or a protected area could be better.
What are some other ways to make the community more bike-friendly?
Well, I think having, which the community I think has done also, is making racks available to lock your bikes up so they're safe when you go off to do other activities. Some of the schools have the safety programs which try to get kids to understand that helmets are necessary, how to ride a bike and control a bike. Some sort of training courses possibly by the police department in proper hand signals and proper road etiquette, both for adults and for the riders.
Currently, there are very few bike lanes in the town of Mamaroneck, so please be sure to use your precaution. And remember to always wear your helmet. For the Local Live, I'm Kyle Byrne.
That raised some interesting topics for us to talk about. So why don't we talk with Steve? Do you think that Mamaroneck is unsafe or not conducive to bike riding?
It's, I think, typical of most mature communities around this area where there aren't many bike lanes. Part of the reason for this initiative is exactly that, to make it safer. I think from that fantastic little piece we did, and we're all wearing our helmets here, but I'll take mine off. Is that we could certainly make it a lot safer, a lot friendlier.
Well, why don't you tell me what is the collaborative, your initiative, the Bike Friendly Initiative you're working on?
The Bike Friendly Initiative, which came out of the Sustainability Collaborative for the town of Mamaroneck, is we're actually making an application to the League of American Cyclists for the town of Mamaroneck to be considered a bike-friendly community. Now, it is actually the League of American Cyclists that actually certifies communities and says that they are bike-friendly. Believe it or not, New York City, Manhattan has been certified as a bike-friendly community. To date, there is no community in Westchester County that has been, considered a bike-friendly community. Mamaroneck has, our community has a lot to do to become bike-friendly, but we see this as the first step.
Tony, I want to bring you into the conversation. How does cycling fit into the Sustainability Collaborative's goals?
Well, the collaborative is basically concerned about sustainability, living today without compromising future generations, resiliency, being able to prepare for, respond to these storms we've been having, and to improve our quality of life. And so when you look at this walkable, bikeable community, walking is much more sustainable, as we all know, than driving cars. So this walking, bicycling community will help us be more sustainable, will help us be more resilient. We don't need fuel to put in our cars. Remember, we had, in Irene and Sandy, we had the fuel outages, so we'll be more resilient. And biking is fun, especially when it's very safe. And so the Walking Bicycling Initiative fits into those three goals very well. So we're very pleased to have Stephen working on this initiative.
Well, are we talking about biking as a mode of transportation or for recreational reasons?
All the above. You want to be able to do both. There are some people in our community that actually use it as a means of commuting, what they like to call the last mile. So Metro North loves bike commuters because that makes it easier for them to free up space for people to park down there. If you look at the Village of Mamaroneck and the Village of Larchmont parking areas for bicycles, they're bursting at the seams with cyclists. So that's one part of it. And then there's the school kids. who you want to encourage, part of being healthy, to ride your bike to school, and then and for recreational purposes. So it's all of the above, and that's part of being a bicycle-friendly community. That bicycles is just another way of getting around.
Well, what infrastructure changes would be necessary?
To make a community really bicycle friendly, some of them are as simple as painting stripes on the road to start sharing the road. Some of them are much more concrete. One of the things that part of being a bicycle friendly community and what the Bicycle League talks about is a real important part of it is also education, both educating drivers, so that they know how to respect cyclists on the road. And we were talking about this before about the unruly cyclist is educating the cyclists so that everybody shares the road, so that you know to stop at a stop sign, stop light, and do all that. Sorry, go ahead.
What I was going to say is that I think of two areas of the community as being recreationally bike friendly, and maybe you'll tell me that I'm wrong. One of them being the Orienta area, which is relatively flat,
right,
and smaller streets,
right,
and no traffic lights actually.
Right.
And the same thing with the Manor in Larchmont.
Right.
Is that a correct assessment of those areas, or is there more to be done even there?
There are bike friendly, but there are other areas of the community that you don't even know about that are perfectly bike friendly. For example, around the brook, in sort of the town area, which is a lovely place to bicycle. Part of the nice thing about encouraging people to cycle is it actually kind of unites a community, because you discover parts of the area that you wouldn't think of as being bicycle friendly, but actually are. But to your point, yes. The flatline areas, Orienta, and the Manor are the two areas that are wonderful to bicycle around. And as a matter of fact, you can get from the two of them without going on the post road, which we actually identify on that bike map that we have.
Although there is a group that claims it's a private road.
That's right.
Since we do know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We already have some emails coming in, and at least two of them are interested in making existing roads safer, and they reference the rules of the road. And you mentioned educating car drivers as well as bicyclists about the rules of the road. What are a few of the common rules that seem to be violated these days?
Well, we were talking about this before, about what are the rules and what are the laws. Some of it is the law part gets to be a little bit confusing, and it varies from state to state. But a lot of it is etiquette. And one basic rule, if you're a motorist and you're passing a cyclist, is what they call the 3-foot rule, which is where you give a cyclist 3 feet, so that you're not getting too close to them. And the other thing is just that's probably the main one, but the other is just about being careful about not going in front of a cyclist and then making a sharp right turn. That I think many cyclists have experienced it.
And what about a cyclist going through a red light? It happened to me. I was waiting for a red light to turn green, so I could proceed, and a cyclist came right along my right side. Right. Pause for a split second, and then boom, right across the street.
And as I told you, I had a situation where I had the light and I was turning onto Boston Post Road,
right, and
two cyclists who should have stopped at a red light almost went into me.
That's right.
So I'm going to be nitpicky here and actually go the actual rules of the road.
Okay, go ahead.
Cyclists are supposed to follow stop signs. They'll go with traffic, not against traffic.
Right.
You stop at a stop sign, you stop at a red light.
Right.
Are they supposed to signal?
Yes, of course.
Okay. What do they do let's take Boston Post Road. We can all picture that it's 2 lanes each direction.
Right.
And they want to make a left turn. Does the bicycle get into the left lane and make the turn, or does it wait for a crosswalk and pull over and act like a pedestrian? I'm a pain in the neck, huh? Sorry.
Well, first of all, a cyclist is allowed or supposed to advance in front of cars so that they're in a visible position. So they'll come along to the right hand side, to the crosswalk. And if it's a multi-lane road like the Boston Post Road, it's sort of commonsensical. You know, if there's a lot of traffic, I mean, cyclists are. I mean, the questions you're asking are kind of in that area between being a pedestrian and a motorist.
Right.
And there are times when a cyclist behaves like a motorist, has to stop at a stoplight, and then more like a pedestrian where they're moving over to be in a position to make a left-hand turn. So and this is all part of kind of establishing the rules of the road. I mean, this is a great conversation we're having because it is that sort of third part, right? There's the pedestrian, there's a motorist, and now there's the cyclist, and sort of understanding what those rules are and how you kind of
Right.
engage that. So I mean, we can have a long conversation about what the do's and don'ts, but it's also about sort of everybody kind of understanding that and respecting it. When you're sorry, go ahead.
Now, do either of you know whether there are specific biking rules in this community? Because some communities, I understand, have their own rules, and if not, do we need them?
I'll just answer. I don't know the answer to that question, and I think we probably, as Stephen just said, need to get more familiar with what all the state laws are, and then see if there's a gap between what we think should be out there versus what is out there.
One of the things that comes up all the time is people think that you must wear a bike helmet.
Right.
And that's not really the case. Not everyone has to by law.
That's right.
Only through age 14.
That's correct.
But you recommend it?
I absolutely would recommend it. However, it also depends on the kind of bicycle you're riding and what position you're sitting in. It's not a law because they want to encourage people to enjoy using bicycles. This seems to be a common conversation, but they have done studies that if you're in a more upright position on a bicycle, you're less likely to injure your head as opposed to being on a racing bike where your head forward. So you certainly should wear them. I brought my helmet. I wear it almost all the time.
And we should add that you did bike here.
Right.
So you're practicing what you preach.
That's right.
And I walked here.
Yeah.
We've got a very practical email. The writer says, "What can I do to help the initiative along?"
Well, I would like to answer that. And as part of the town's sustainability collaborative, we'd like to invite people to either work with us on our committee or our subcommittee, in this case, the Walkable Bikeable Communities. And we're also looking to start perhaps a biking association or club. So people can, I guess, if they're interested in either joining the town collaborative or working with the collaborative on this issue, they can email me, tonyg@agsac.org. So I don't want a bike law question, but if you're interested in either working with us on the collaborative or helping us on this initiative, please email me, tonyg@agsac.org.
agsac.org.
Right.
Okay.
Now, I actually looked at some of the New York State laws about bike riding, besides the helmet issue. I don't know if people are generally aware that you need either reflective tires or reflectors on the bicycle. Is that standard with a bicycle when you buy one?
It depends on the type of bicycle that you get. I think if you get your typical recreational bicycle, I think most of them come supplied with rear and front reflector and side reflectors. What's also really important is to, if you can, to purchase yourself a bell and a light.
Well, I'm glad you actually raised that, because this surprised me. And looking at it, a bicyclist must have a bell, a horn, or other device that can be heard at least 100 feet away. But you can't have a siren or a whistle.
And not an air horn.
Right, exactly. Right, there you go.
But I was surprised that was
Are
legislated.
you ever supposed to, as a motorist, am I ever supposed to beep at a cyclist like that I'm approaching to let him or her know that I'm behind them? Or is that might startle them?
I think it depends on how you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually is a good idea to give a light tap of the horn to tell a cyclist that you're behind them. It's actually helpful for them to know. Okay. I mean, yes. Going back to the business about bells, it's really important. Bicyclists, when as a cyclist, you're not that visible. So it's important to have things that are reflective on both your bicycle or the clothing that you wear, or on the back of my helmet. If I'm traveling, coming back from the train station at night, I have a flashing light on the back of my helmet.
And it's very difficult at night.
Yes.
And I can think of some spots in the town, for example, going from the Larchmont train station, going up Chatsworth Avenue, which turns into Rockingstone. There's a curve that's dark and trees, and you can't. And if you're driving, you don't see that there's a cyclist there at all.
Right. And that's why most. I mean, part of the reason there's so much great technology that's out here right now. So there's. You can get headlights that have little flashing lights on the front of it. So a motorist will see a flashing light more than they'll see just a regular headlight. So it's more for letting the motorist know that you're out there.
I have a couple of questions about some of the practical things that might keep one from biking. For me personally, there are an awful lot of hills. Can you get rid of them?
Part of the infrastructure.
I'll let you answer that. Sustainability Collaborative, right?
Exactly. I was kind of hoping we'd get off the negative side of this topic and get to the positive side of the topic. So the positive side of this is that the hills are great for you. You get into good shape. I mean, you get your aerobic capacity up. You lose some weight. So I don't think we're going to get rid of the hills, but there are e-bikes out there now, and e-bikes have batteries and little motors that can help motorists get up and down, cyclists get up the hills. So they can help you out. But we're not getting rid of the hills.
What is the proper etiquette about door opening? Cyclists are concerned that someone's going to open a car door into them. On the other hand, somebody who's getting out on the sidewalk side doesn't expect a bicycle on that side and wouldn't necessarily, just like you wouldn't expect a vehicle to be on your right if you're at the sidewalk.
Right.
What is the etiquette or right thing to do in that circumstance?
It's the same as a motorist, is to look in your side view mirror and to look and see if somebody's approaching and wait for them to go past. The flip side of it is cyclists have to be very careful of that, and novice cyclists. You have to learn to look ahead, to just be aware, and to, when you see a series of parked cars, is to give them distance because of the possibility of somebody not looking in their mirror and opening the car door. So
we have an email from someone who wants to know how to prepare his bike so that it's safe. I'm assuming the tires have to be inflated?
Right. Inflated tires.
That was a joke.
Right.
What else? And the helmet.
Right. Bicycles are really pretty durable. As long as you've inflated the tires, you're probably, and you haven't left your bicycle in the garage for an extended period of time, they're in pretty good shape. It's mostly inflating the tires and just making sure that the chain is oiled. And even if the chain isn't well oiled, it just makes it a little bit harder to work. And anything. I back that up a second. Of course, brakes are probably the most important thing, and making sure that the brakes are in working condition. But if you haven't ridden a bicycle, certainly bring it in a while. Certainly bring it into a bike shop and get it tuned up.
And in our community, we found 2 bike shops, and they're both in the village of Mamaroneck.
Right, and I think I would just follow up with this, say that it's always good to bring your bike to the bike shop and have them check it out, because I'm a very good mechanically inclined person, but the bike people know what they're doing. They can check your brakes, your lights, your tires. So I would say that the recommendation would be always bring it to your bike shop and get it checked out, a couple of times a year if you think there's anything wrong with it.
Do you think that the Village of Mamaroneck Bike Patrol has increased interest in biking? It always fascinates me seeing them patrolling by bicycle.
It's fantastic if they do it. Yeah.
Especially when they observe the rules of the road,
Yeah.
like signaling.
I think we see them, but I have to say for myself, I kind of take them for granted now. And as I said before, I'm kind of a wannabe bicyclist. I like to bike, but I'm very nervous on the roads. And every time I take my bike out, it seems like I have a near something or other because I'm really not that knowledgeable about it. I'm a good bike rider, but I don't tend to look at just the things that Stephen's been saying. I don't tend to do because I only ride it occasionally.
I bet that it's even more nerve-wracking when you're riding with a child.
Well, I have a
'Cause you're watching
I
the
have
child.
a 9-year-old, and she does not ride on the streets. So if my family goes biking, we go on a bike trail.
And part of what we're really doing here, and this is, this is a great conversation to have about, and we're talking about, the problems, the do's and don'ts. But really, what we're doing this because we want to be able for Tony and his daughter Catherine to feel comfortable riding in the community, for you to feel comfortable getting on a bicycle and riding from point A to point B and not feeling like you're that it's always a battle. And the other thing is that the benefit of becoming a bike-friendly community is it actually calms the roads. There have been studies done with this, that there's a sharing of the road that happens, and it's sort of all good, And so there's this there's the health benefits, but there's also the benefits for the community.
You say people become more aware and tolerant of each other?
I think so. I think so. There's a funny thing there's a good thing that happens when you hop on a bicycle because it's between the walking and the driving of a car. You're going faster than that, and you sort of experience them at a different speed. So I see Mamaroneck becoming a bike-friendly community as a kind of accomplishing many goals, or the sort of sustainability bit, the health bit, and I think it sort of helps. And in a funny way, it helps to sort of unify the community because you can explore more of it.
Now, if there are people who want to either get involved or just express their opinion, what's the best way for them to do so?
I would say
Tony G.
Tony G at agsac.org.
Yeah. Talking about the committee, will the committee put on a website what it's actually proposing?
Well, we're in the process of developing a sustainability/resiliency plan, and this is an interim plan that we'll be presenting to the town board, hopefully within 2 weeks for their review. We had 2 workshops, one in January and one in February, where we invited the public and we took some of their comments. We're going to probably be getting more comments in the fall and then finalizing the plan. Did I answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
And will the schools have a role to play? It seems that the elementary kids riding to school, the middle school kids, the high school kids, I know as a former high school teacher, there were a lot more bike racks installed in the last few years that I was there. So teaching kids about the rules of the road.
Right. So this kind of plan, as I said, sustainability, resiliency, quality of life, we're probably going to have like 5 major initiatives in here. We don't think we can do too much, but this walkable, bikeable community, and yes, that committee or subcommittee is going to be outreach to schools and houses of worship, etc. We have a little a zero waste, right? So the town of Mamaroneck concerts. So last Monday night we had this walkable, bikeable, and Stephen brought his big map, and then we had we made it a zero waste concert, and so so no waste. So we walkable, bikeable community, zero waste. Do you know what green infrastructure is?
Not really.
Okay, so we've been trying to promote green infrastructure. Basically, there's gray infrastructure, which is pipes and pumps and the way we've done everything for the last 100 years. And then there's this green infrastructure, which is permeable paving, water gardens, green roofs, that type of thing. And so what we're trying to take with this green infrastructure is to say stormwater, for example, is a big problem, right? It rains, where does all the water go? Right. So we're trying to use some of these softer techniques. So that's number 3. Probably going to have some type of a green building, right? Passive house promotion. And There's one other one that I'm not remembering at the moment.
But to go just specifically to the bike, back to that since we're kind of on that subject. We are submitting an application the middle of next month to the League of American Bicyclists for the town of Mamaroneck to be considered a bike-friendly community. Clearly, we're not going to be certified as that. We have a long way to go. But we will get back from the League a report which will summarize their findings, and that will become the roadmap. And we see this as a sort of 3 to 5 year process of how we can become a bike-friendly community. So there's the sustainability collaborative that has this the big plan, and we're just a little part of it. But and this the League of American Cyclists will become that roadmap, and that's wrong.
Now, I know, Tony, you wanted to say some thank yous before we wrap it up, because we are running out of time.
Well, thank you from Maura and Michael. So first I want to thank LMC TV for inviting us, and Steve, and I don't know how you got us on here, but good job.
Thank Eric for that.
And Eric, wherever Eric is.
Yeah.
And then I'll speak for myself, love Nancy Seligson, the town of Mamaroneck supervisor. She's been totally supportive of the collaborative. And so I want to thank her and Steve Altieri, who works with her. And then the collaborative, we have about 7 members now, architects, engineers, planners, and they've been great. I had a list.
Don't worry about it.
I think that's it.
Yeah, your speech will get cut off.
Okay.
But we are out of time, and we do want to thank you joining
very
us,
much. This
Stephen
was great.
Moser and Tony Gelber. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember that if you have any ideas for future roundtable discussions, you can write us at thelocallive@lmctv.org or tweet us at thelocallive. We love hearing from you.
Thanks for joining the roundtable.
And stay tuned. We'll be right back with more community stories.
Hey guys, you're watching The Local Live. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Summer's here, and that means the beach is the place to be. However, the local shores may pose a risk to our Mamaroneck citizens. There have been some concerns that pollution in the Mamaroneck harbors and beaches is becoming a major issue due to poor waste control. Our own local correspondent, Jojine Castillo, reports back and provides advice on how to dispose of your waste properly. Take a look.
In June, 10 Long Island Sound beaches in the Westchester County were temporarily closed. This due to the pollution found in water carried from the sewage after heavy rain.
In Long Island Sound, as in many other parts of the country, we have beach closures that are largely the result of bacteria contamination. And bacteria contamination comes from fecal matter. So we're talking about sewage system overflows, leaky septic systems, or also wildlife farming and geese can cause high levels of bacteria that make beaches unsafe for swimming.
During beach closures, the Westchester County Health Department conducts water quality testing. In Mamaroneck, these tests have taken place for decades, since 1985. Heavy storm water leads to unsafe levels of bacteria throughout these beaches and must be tested each time it rains at least half an inch within 24 hours.
Depending on where your beaches are located, you're going to have different opportunities for pollution to get to the beach. So some beaches, like the ones in Mamaroneck Harbor, have streams that feed into the harbor nearby.
These streams serve as trails for bacterial contamination flowing throughout the landscape into beaches where you swim. Throughout the years, there's been much progress in the Larchmont Mamaroneck community towards cleaning up beaches, tracking down, and eliminating pollutant sources.
Last year, Save the Sound partnered with the Village of Mamaroneck and helped to find and eliminate 2 major sources of sewage contamination that were making their way into the harbor beaches.
In order to protect your and your family's health, as well as staying up to date with beach closures, important information, and ways you can help, sign up for Save the Sound's email list or follow them on Twitter and Facebook. I'm Jojine Castillo, reporting for The Local Live.
Hi, I'm Westchester County Legislator Catherine Parker. Watch The Local Live on Thursday at 7:30 before I make it a law.
Who doesn't know Walters and its iconic hot dogs? Unfortunately, one of their side orders is facing removal. Let's find out why.
I'm standing outside Walter's hot dog stand, known for their best hot dogs in the country. Recently on their Facebook page, they said that they will be discontinuing a special item on the menu, and we're here to find out what and why. And tell us why you traveled all the way from the Bronx to come up to Walter's.
Well, today I noticed on my social networking site that Walter's put up a post saying that they are discontinuing the spuds from their menu, the sweet potato spuds. Something I've come here my entire life with. My brothers would take me here when I was much younger and always deny it to me. So as I got older, I started eating them. I love them. They're the best. Sweet potato spud, it's mashed sweet potato on the inside, and I guess a thin layer of deep fry on the outside. Not the healthiest of things, but they're delicious.
Recently you put on your Facebook that you guys are going to be discontinuing the sweet potato spuds. Can you give us a reason why?
Yes, so we've had the spud since 1991, so for quite some time now. Where we actually get them, they're discontinuing them. They actually just told us yesterday, and we only have about, I think, 3 bags left total. So we plan to be out of the sweet spuds by, maybe this afternoon or end of day today. So the company that we get them from is the only company that actually makes the sweet spuds, and I'm pretty sure Walter's is the only place that you can get them. So we are basically their only, restaurant serving them, and they're discontinuing them. So we can't really get them anywhere else. If we could, we would, of course.
Do you think that a lot of customers will be upset? Will it affect your menu, or?
I don't know that it'll affect the menu too much. We've changed the fries not too many times, but 2 or 3 times over the years. Sweet spuds are definitely a favorite. People who love them are like obsessed with them, but they're actually like I think our least selling fry. We usually do curlies, potato puffs, French fries, and sweet spuds are kind of the last, but the people who get them absolutely love them. So I'm sure they'll be disappointed, but we're also very, very upset. We all want to eat sweet spuds now every day. So.
Are you guys planning on replacing it with another item?
Yes, we're gonna try a few new items. We're not sure what yet. It'll most likely be something like sweet potato related to try to compensate for the sweet spud, but it definitely won't be the same thing. But we will be getting something new on the menu hopefully shortly, in a few weeks.
This might be the very last bag of sweet spuds, so I might as well enjoy. I'm Siobhan Flattery reporting for The Local Live. Are you going? She is not only gorgeous, but super sweet and smart as well. She has the cutest shading of brown around her eyes that just adds to her adorable charm. Daisy is currently about 20 pounds and is not quite fully grown. Daisy has been in foster care and gets along with cats, dogs, and young children. She is extremely well socialized and such a good girl. Daisy is up to date on shots, spayed, and microchipped. For adoption information, please contact Courtney Ballou at 914-494-6456 or email her at courtney@snarrnortheast.org.
Well, unfortunately, we have reached the end of our show. Time sure does fly by.
It certainly does. Remember, if you want to get involved or catch previous episodes of our broadcast, go to www.lmctv.org/thelocallive.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Anthony Carlo.
And I'm Siobhan Flattery. See you next week here at The Local Live.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.